Welcome to Candlewick Library. I'm Cheryl. Today I'm going to talk about my favorite books of 2025. I had my book of the year set up at the back of my reading journal, and I wrote down every month my favorite book. There were any that were kind of a second place that was close, then I talked about that as well. But in January, I started the Emma M. Lyon series for the first time. And so my favorite book of January was Emma M. Lyon Volume 1. Honorable mentions were Dracul, which is like a prequel of Dracula, of course, written by somebody else, but it was somebody related to Bram Stoker. And then the reread of Anne of Green Gables. In February, my favorite book was Emma M. Lyon Volume 3, because I read 2 and 3. And then an honorable mention was Noble Masquerade and Reclaiming Quiet. Reclaiming Quiet was a real close second because I loved that book. It was a nonfiction. In March, my favorite book was Wish. And that one, I didn't really have any honorable mentions. That was the standout of the month. In April, it was Emma M. Lyon Volume 4. And then the honorable mention was Sunrise on the Reaping, which was very close as well. In May, it was All Manner of Things. And the honorable mention would be Anne's House of Dreams, which was a reread. In June, my favorite book was the long epic poem of Evangeline. The close honorable mentions would have been Emma M. Lyon Volume 6, and then my rereads of Harry Potter 5 and The Blue Castle by Ellen Montgomery. July, my favorite book was Emma M. Lyon Volume 7. You're seeing kind of a pattern here. And in August, my favorite book was A Cry from the Dust, with a close second being Wife Number 19, which was written by Anna Eliza Young, who was one of Brigham Young's polygamous wives. This is her memoir of her time. And then Emma M. Lyon Volume 8. In September, my favorite book was called Final Word. It was a book about a family that gets caught up in this group going to a spelling bee. And then the honorable mentions were a book called Flowers and Bones, which is I think it was the second book. I can't remember if it was or not, but it's in a series of books where the kids are able to travel into paintings, famous paintings. And then my reread of Anne of Ingleside. And then in October, my favorite book was You Are Fatally Invited. And that was kind of tied with The Pumpkin Princess and the Forever Knight. An honorable mention of Shakespeare's, I think it's Secrets of Shakespeare's Grave, which is also a middle grade. And then I did a reread of Dracula. And then in November, my favorite book was John Smith, A Foothold in the New World. And this is just the full story of John Smith. It was fantastic. And then in December, my favorite book was the second book in the Sherlock Society. Then I broke down those ones of each group of 3 months, which was my favorite book, and then took it down even further, and then took it down even further. The 4 books that ended up being against each other were Emma M. Lyon Volume 3, Volume 4, A Cry from the Dust, and You Are Fatally Invited. Again, those don't include any of my rereads. Otherwise, Harry Potter and Anne of Green Gables books would have had to have been on there. For the books I'd never read before, those were the 4 in the running. And then in the last 2, it ended up being Emma M. Lyon Volume 4 and You Are Fatally Invited. And Emma M. Lyon Volume 4 had to win out. So I love the whole Emma M. Lyon series, but I'm pretty sure Emma M. Lyon Volume 4 was my favorite of the series so far. So that ended up being my favorite book of the year that was a new read. But I would say that it would be more accurate to just say Emma M. Lyon as a whole was my favorite read of the year that I hadn't read before.